So, in case you haven't noticed, we've got a problem. From what I do as a clinician, people come to me typically with problems. As a medical doctor, say, I have a problem. I don't feel well. I'm this. My hair's, whatever. And I say, okay, well, we have a problem. Well, as a society, we have a really big problem. Shockingly, we live right now in the first generation in the United States of young people who are not expected to live longer than their parents. That's the first time that's ever happened. And despite the billions of dollars and all of these organizations keeping watch over our health and making sure we do everything right, this is not even half of them. CDC and the AMA and the USDA and the FDA and all of these, our health is not getting better. We're not where we need to be, okay? And just a few statistics to point that out, but y'all know this, right? By the time people reach adulthood, 60% of folks have one chronic medical condition. 40% of folks have at least 2 medical conditions that are chronic. 12% of people have 5 medical conditions that are chronic in America in adulthood. Seems like we ought to be doing better than that. We're one of the most resource-rich, wealthy, well-nourished populations that's ever existed, and our health is suffering terribly. And I'm here to talk about that. So what I want to do is give some very basic principles. I have to keep things simple in my mind. Some basic principles that we can do. All right, so when I think of what does it mean to be healthy, again, keeping it simple, there's about 4 general principles that I think. I think, okay, how can we best match some person, their genes, their makeup with the correct environment, okay? So we want to match the person with the correct environment, okay? And we'll talk a little bit about how we do that. Next, we want to do, I call it the away from the cliff principle. So we're building in margin in your life. So if I have someone come in and they're overweight, they don't exercise, they don't eat well, they're stressed out, all these things, I say, you're standing right on the edge of the cliff, and it's not going to take much to push you over. So how can we start marching you backwards away from the cliff, building in that margin between you and falling off the cliff into sickness, right? We'll talk a little bit about how we do that. So I call it the away from the cliff principle, right? So I'm trying to get them back away from the cliff. So now when they go out to their friends and drink beer and have pizza, they move a little closer to the cliff, but they're not going to fall off. And then they can fix it and back up again, okay? So we're trying to keep people away from the cliff of illness. Next, I think we like to say, what's a human lifespan? I say, what's a human health span? I promise I can, any single one of you, I can get 9 decades of existence out of your body. I promise we can do it, okay? But is that 9 decades of health? Or is that just 9 decades of being alive? And there's a difference. We want folks to be healthy well into their later years. Health span, not just lifespan. Next, life goals. An important question that we should ask ourselves and that I ask folks that I come in contact with as we're starting to talk about illness. What do you want your health for? Why do you want to be healthy? Right? I might have someone come in, a 67-year-old lady who says, I want to see my grandkids get married. That's her goal. And that will motivate her to change what she's doing, right? Someone says, I want to do this. I want to go see Mount Kilimanjaro and climb to the top of it. Good. That's a very specific goal, okay? Might be a small goal. I want to walk to the mailbox. That might be their goal, okay? I want to do 40 push-ups. That might be their goal, okay? So we've got to keep that in mind. What do you want your health for? If we have a specific goal in mind, that makes this journey a lot easier, right? We know where we're going. All right, so here, if you're taking notes, I'll talk specifically about these. So these, my mind, keeping it simple, this is kind of where I have landed with principles that I follow at home to stay healthy. Okay. Diversity, and we'll dig into these here in a little bit. Diversity, adversity, activity, nutrition and nature, rest, purpose, and boundaries. Okay? So that's it. Okay? Yesterday I gave a 4-year medical education to the folks that came in about an hour. So you're pretty close to getting it here. So you're going to get your money's worth.